The tech giants are conspiring with the forces of power to utterly redefine human nature, create man in their own digital image, and with it, redefine and change the character of society forever. And this cannot be allowed to happen by any thinking person or any person who cares about having a just society, a rightly ordered society, and a just form of political order known as our governance. But this is precisely what is happening, and one of the more recent manifestations of this unfortunate trend was a tech summit held at the White House where everyone who is anyone in the tech world except Elon Musk came to a table and talked with President Trump and talked about how much they are happy about how they are investing in the country and how AI is going to define the future and how they are so happy that the current administration is not going against them with regulations. And while I do believe that it is not the fault of the president or anyone else who seeks to guide the country towards a good path amid such immense digital change and revolution, we should be cautious of these individuals. We should be cautious of their aims and their intentions, and we should identify just what their program and project is for us as Americans and for the West, and we should reject the bad parts of that project and embrace the good parts on terms that are familiar to who we are as human beings. So, in this video, my friends, I intend to go through this tech summit, explain my concerns that the infrastructure of the next age is going to bring forth that'll be challenges for us as people in society, and hopefully provide a roadmap for us to get out of this problem before it gets a whole lot worse. My friends, thank you so much for being here. I am Christian Watson, and you are most certainly indeed watching Pensive politics. Now, as I mentioned, there was a big tech summit, and everyone was actually there. Bill Gates was there. Sam Altman was there. Mark Zuckerberg was there. And while they were there, they talked so much about how they are excited for the state of the future and how they are excited, most importantly, for the direction the country is going to go in when it comes to technological development. And the news headlines about this read, big tech summit happens where tech bosses discuss how much they invested in the economy. And of course, there was indeed big investments. Meta mentioned that they're going to be investing north of $600 billion in the economy from now to 2028, which is rather amazing. And the other companies within that room are also going to be investing more and more and more as well. And there's also been a lot of money dumped into AI development through Project Stargate, which is meant to keep America on the competitive edge. Before I go any deeper, we have to actually deal with this notion of investment. Because ultimately, a lot of people, when they hear the word money was invested into the economy, come away with a positive, happy feeling. They immediately think, oh my gosh, there's going to be jobs, there's going to be progress, there's going to be innovation. But they never ask the question, what kind of society do these investments actually create? How do these investments change the character of our society? How do these investments affect our moral posture as people and individuals? Because we have a tendency to filter everything through a purely economic, rationalistic, utilitarian lens without realizing that reason divorced from duty is no longer reason. It is now a kind of mediocrity of the mind that cannot be corrected by anything else. And economics divorced from virtue is no longer really economics that goes towards the right condition of a people. It is instead a cold, detached formula which cannot say much about how we should actually buy, sell, and trade in society. These things require other concepts to augment them so they are good. I am a capitalist, but capitalism without virtue is not capitalism. It is avarice. It is a vehicle for avarice to go into the society and corrupt it. So we ought not assume, just because money is being spent, that it is going to, actually create a better society, because money doesn't create a better society. The habits of the people that come out through their inward self-governance, which is reflected through their duty, virtue, and their adherence to first principles, that creates a better society. It's never created from above. It always comes from within and spills out, and then the results of it are seen, should the actual process of it happening be correct. So money does not create a better society. Progress itself does not create a better society. Progress within moral limitations most certainly creates a better society. But is what we're seeing right now a result of moral limitations? Or is it instead a result of a sinister attempt to redefine man through a digital prism and also to redefine society along with them? I argue that it most certainly 100% is. And you don't even have to take my word for it. You can actually look at what some of the people who participated in this summit have to say about the future of human communication and human growth. For example, Mark Zuckerberg. He seeks, first of all, there are so many different problems with this individual. From the Cambridge Analytica scandal, which happened a few years ago, and I was still in high school, I think, actually, to Meta's policies relating to privacy and data harvesting, to, most importantly, and this is actually going to be the most relevant point I make for this video, the metaverse. Mark Zuckerberg quite literally wishes to manufacture a new reality for us as human beings to exist in through virtual systems, the metaverse, through virtual reality. And the problem with virtual reality is that, well, actually, virtual reality, when it has the context of physical reality to define it, and it is not seen as the way we live our life, it is simply seen as a temporary escape, can be fine. The imagination has cultivated within the minds of men for centuries a kind of escape away from our actual world. But reasoned men, men that understand, that are in connect with their humanity, will always come back from those reaches to which their imagination takes them. But when virtual reality dominates your understanding of the world, when virtual reality becomes your new world, you no longer have any room to escape. You are now enamored into this world of customizability where you are tyrannized by your own desires. I've gone over this problem before. The tyranny of customizability essentially allows man to use any social interaction that he has filtered through digital apparatus to enable him to do what he wishes. The entire premise of virtual reality is that you can customize the world you want. You can go on vacation if you want. You can go to Milan if you want. You can talk to a virtual girlfriend or virtual boyfriend if you want. But the problem is these things are not within the scope and limitations that actually inform human conduct towards just ends, towards rational ends, towards truthful ends, towards ends that most importantly preserve the fidelity that we owe to every single person in society, because at the end of the day, society is simply a result of our natural sociability bubbling forth and creating a context that we can cooperate and our needs can be fulfilled and our wants can be satisfied, our deficiencies can be augmented by the skills and gifts of other people, and by doing that, we can create civilization. But without fidelity, I can't even trust the words that come from somebody's mouth, much less trust them to help me when I need them to, much less trust them to cooperate with me. And without fidelity, therefore, the basis for society, which is cooperation, is destroyed. You cannot have fidelity in the virtual world because you are your own God in the virtual world. And in the virtual world becomes your canvas. And reality becomes negotiable. It becomes customizable. A man who is left unleashed to run rampant with his own desires and create his own world is not a man who has limits. And a man without limits is the tyrannical man. So Zuckerberg wants to go in that direction. And he's sitting here at the table, President Trump, saying, oh, we're going to invest so much money. Okay, yeah. To do what? To destroy human sociability, to break down the natural desire of society and create something artificial? I don't think so. Sam Altman. Oh my God. Jesus have. See, I don't even mention the word Jesus, but so you know, when I don't do that often in videos, when I do that, you know something's going to happen. Something's wrong. Sam Altman is quite literally redefining human communication psychology through a system that has very little guardrails, that has already led to the death of people who were convinced by the system that they were some kind of love object or some kind of friend, some kind of affection, that has already led to several disturbing things happening where people are being given bad advice or even inaccurate information, and people are beginning now to worship this thing merely because it seems to have all this lightning fast intelligence, when in our reality, it is simply a computer-based system. He is literally manufacturing a reality where this system is going to become the driving engine of all future industries, the driving engine of all future institutions. And the problem with that is it's going to create a kind of algorithmic tyranny that overtakes our institutions and drives them with algorithmic force without any establishing foundations as to what makes a good institution in the first place. What should institutions be doing? No, the interest will now be what serves the roles of the algorithm, what serves the roles of that which can be compressed into this digital medium. And this is already impacting human psychology in the worst way by making people fall in love with the computer and detaching them from social engagement in the real world. This is actually what a lot of these AI chatbots are doing right now. I'm not saying AI is inherently bad, but I am saying AI, having a society where AI is dominant without having a people who understand the importance of physical human interaction and who are in connection with their rational, natural sociability, and also having a society where AI is dominant without having people that love themselves. Real love, not the kind of love where you justify gaining 500 pounds because you want to feel body positive. No, the kind of love where you say, I understand who I am as a human being. I appreciate my inherent essence and excellence as a human being. And I'm going to use that appreciation of myself to refine myself, to chase virtue, to fulfill my duty, to act according to first principles, and to also have a good character form within my heart. And then I'm going to go into society and help other people do that same thing. That's real self-love. But we don't have that right now in society. We have self-obsession. We have a society of perpetual self-cultivation, where customization and the moment, which directs us away from the eternal and towards the temporal, are our governing standards. And in that society, AI will enable our worst desires, inflame our imaginations, and direct them towards bad ends. It's already doing that. Sam Altman, at the edge of that. At the head of that, he's sitting there at the White House saying, oh, this is so good. Okay. Bill Gates. I don't even have to. This is so comical. And it's so sick that these people are beginning to rearrange the pieces of our society, because society is becoming more digital and less physical, and therefore they're having some power put into their hands. Bill Gates said, there's many things he's done that are rather terrible, but he said that AI is going to create a society. He said this gleefully, by the way, that AI is going to create a society where human beings will no longer be needed, and it will create an era of free intelligence, where diseases will be cured, where cancers will be eradicated, where poverty will be wiped from the face of the globe. This is what Bill Gates said so giddy. He said, yes, it's going to replace human beings, but it's going to make our lives better. Pray tell, even if AI could do these things, and by the way, I call this the deification and the romanization of AI. It cannot do all of these things. AI simply siphons from the existing knowledge base that we have right now. And if you understand the collection of human intelligence that has gone into solving some of these very important problems, you'll understand that AI is not going to have any more effectiveness than that collection of human intelligence could. So if first of all, it's not even going to do what people think it's going to do with the current existing stuff that is being fed right now through computer systems. But even if we assumed it was, how can you justify the obliteration of man's place in his own society and the replacement of that through impersonal mediums as improving his life? That is not improving his life. That is destroying his connection with the real world. That is allowing a digital apparatus to replace him and undermine his ability to refine himself through honest work. Work is not just to get money. Work is not just to get status. Work is also to refine yourself every day by facing some kind of challenges to keep your mind active. This is why people who are retired will tell you, I got to keep working. Because it's not about getting money. It's about refinement. So if you take away my source of refinement in the economic realm, what's going to happen? I now have more limited case capabilities to refine myself, and that means I'm not going to be the best kind of human I can be. I'm not going to have the best kind of mind I could have. My consciousness is going to go into free fall, and all of a sudden, there's a crisis of the heart that happens. Bill Gates is quite literally setting up the pavement, paving the road for the crisis of the heart, which we already have a version of in society. It's going to happen even more now. Bill Gates, free intelligence. Nothing's free. Whether it's monetarily, whether it's morally, or whether it's just in terms of human cost. Nothing is free. AI has a big cost. And this whole idea of free intelligence, it's not free, it's costly. It's costly artificial. It's a costly artificial counter image. It's something to bring about a false image to come into our society and reorganize things, because it creates this kind of distrust that man in his own capacity has the ability to relate and to bring his creative faculty over the world. In all reality, he does. And we have done it for thousands of years, and it's worked. And we should not be retreating now just because one of our inventions seems to be so fancy and seems to be so good. So as I mentioned, my friends, this is the infrastructure that is going to lead to the redefinition of man. Because while Gates and others may not necessarily profess to be transhumanists, there are transhumanists who do believe that man's condition is so inferior that he needs to be replaced by machines so he can then take the fruits of his labor, so to speak, and then augment himself to be better than the machines can be better than most humans can be, and become more than human. This is the infrastructure being laid for the digitization of society, for the redefinition of man. But man is a creature with a moral nature, and that moral nature, if that changes, then that means the entire basis upon which we act towards others, to which we pursue truth, to which we understand what is right and what is just, also changes, and that can become a rather dangerous prospect for all of us, because we also understand that those who control the technological engines of the future are those who have their own ulterior motives. Their motives are not directed towards civic virtue or civic duty or first principles. Their motives are pushed towards the sort of aggrandizement of their own projects, pushed towards this mythical idea of technological progress. So that means that the moral framework upon which we build society, the moral language upon which we build society, is going to be a victim, a casualty of what is happening here. Once again, I'm going to say this. The push for technological progress is a civic poison, because it corrodes the terms, the languages, and the concepts that we as human beings use to interact with others and to be just. And when you remove us from that context, you cannot have a just man. You can only have a confused, fragmented, and broken man. When you put everyone into a digital silo where they can customize their own world, you no longer have human interaction, which breeds fidelity. You now have a world where your passions and your imagination create the world for you, and passions and imagination that are ungoverned lead to a tyranny of the self, a ruin of the self. This is so dangerous, what is happening here. How can we fight this, my friends? Because I'm not simply one that decides problems. I also like to bring forth solutions. We can stop this by creating a culture of the authentic moment, the authentic self, where we do not outsource our desires, our passions, our loves, our pursuits to faraway systems that exist in digital space, where instead we continue to ground ourselves in the real world as much as we can, whether it be through getting out there and interacting personally, whether it be through creating groups in real life, whether it be, even when you're in digital spaces, having a kind of groundedness and a kind of virtue to how you treat others, not allowing the "it's just the internet, bro" mentality to take over you, but instead having beneficence and benevolence to people. These are things we can all do to remain in touch with who we are, and therefore not lose ourselves to the digital monster that is currently coming. We can also, I think, not just emphasizing our real qualities of digital identities, we can also take hold of the principles that govern social interaction and exhibit them whenever and wherever we can. Don't forget that you're still a human being in a society. We can also, I think this is most important, we as consumers must refuse the honey we are being given from these people. We as consumers must refuse the succor we are being given from these people. And we must say, no, this is not good for us. I will not buy the new iPhone. I will not buy the new iPad. I will not become a digital, augmented being. I will remain fully human. We can simply do that by self-refusal. Self-governance will be the solution to this, most importantly. Legislatively, my friends, there must be a wall of separation between tech development, science, and political order. There is billions of dollars that flow from the government into the hands of tech bosses. That should not happen. There's billions of dollars that flow from the government into the hands of scientific innovation programs which ultimately lay the groundwork for this kind of social coercion to happen. That also should not happen, because political order should not, number one, have partiality or favor to any industry, even if they are ones that utilitarians can say justify the greater good, because really there is no greater good if you're undermining the source of the good, which is most importantly the social fabric. That's number one. Number two, we also have to say that there has to be some kind of limits on how far this can go. I'm not saying that I want the government to come in and be a manager, but I certainly do not want the government to come in and be an enabler. And in not being an enabler, the government must have enough independence from that realm of tech and science, but it also must have enough assertiveness to say, you know what, this is actually undermining the foundations of political order, and for that reason we have to impose some kind of limits on the development, so-called. This does not have to be a moment for doom, my friends. This can be a moment of optimism, but it will only be a moment of optimism when, as I mentioned, our self-governance from within comes out and asserts what it means to be a human, asserts our duties as people, asserts the principles that make society possible and make society great, and most importantly, in doing so keeps us grounded. We must all do that. Do it with conviction, with passion, also with certainty. And do not allow the wiles of technological progress to become our standard. Allow what is right, the right. Let justice and truth, veracity, let they be our standard. Because if they're our standard, then we will remain grounded forever, and nothing can take us off the solid path of truth that we're walking on. My friends, if you want to, if what you heard in this video kind of scares you, and you want to actually help preserve American culture, Western civilization from the wiles of its various enemies, whether it be the tech bosses or the socialists or whatever, join the Pensive cohort, which is my collection of young thinkers that is going to learn about the thinkers that made America, made the intellectual DNA of America up, and also made the West great. And it's also going to assert those principles forcibly in the public discourse. Join our Discord in the comment section down below. My friends, study history, study philosophy, remain morally wicked, and please, my friends, stay pensive. Bye, guys.